Tony Emmy winner Nathan Lane is getting a lot of buzz on Broadway because he's getting back on stage alongside an A-list cast for the revival of the classic play Death of a Salesman. Please welcome back the very fabulous Nathan Lane.
Let's do this before Iran drops the big one, huh?
Well, you know, speaking of big ones being dropped,
Yeah?
we were talking earlier this week about Timothée Chalamet.
Oh, what a schmuck.
He opened his mouth. Poor guy. Leave him alone.
Well, you know, one doesn't want to give this more attention than it deserves, and yet...
Well, tell him what he did.
And yet, you know, it was kind of kaleidoscopic in its stupidity and insensitivity, and yet strangely telling about where we are in this country. Let me explain. Let me get to the comedy portion of our program. You know, first of all, one should remember, people will be going to see Swan Lake and La Traviata long after someone at a dinner party says, "Who was Timothée Chalamet?"
That's right.
It's the show business circle of life.
Yeah.
Yes.
And, you know, the bigger question is, why was there a town hall meeting with Matthew McConaughey and Timothée Chalamet?
Right.
I mean, who deemed this meeting of the minds necessary?
Cash Patel. It was
You
Cash
know,
Patel.
why isn't there a town hall meeting with Democrats discussing how to get this lunatic out of the White House? But, you know, then I realized, oh, he's still promoting that endless ping pong movie.
Yeah.
And, you know, I got news for Timmy. You know, if you think nobody cares about opera and ballet, I can't tell you how much we don't care about ping pong.
That's true.
All right.
But in his defense, you know, he was doing it with Matthew McConaughey, so I'm thinking some weed was smoked before. And this may just be a tragic case of terribly unfunny people trying to be funny, which always ends in disaster.
Yes.
Well, you are funny, but this revival of Death of a Salesman.
Oh, yes, that's why I'm here.
Yes. Reunite you with the great Laurie Metcalf
Oh.
and also legendary director Joe Mantello, who I hear originally had the idea for you to play Willie Loman 30 years ago. Wow. Is that true? And what took so long?
Yes, we were rehearsing a Terrence McNally play called Love, Valor, Compassion in 1995.
I saw that.
And,
Yeah.
Thanks for remembering. And during a rehearsal, for some reason, out of the blue, he just touched my arm and he said, "Someday we're going to do Death of a Salesman together." And, you know, I was probably in an apron and high heels at the time, so I wasn't thinking ahead to Willie Loman. But it's a, you know, something that we've talked about for many years, and it was supposed to happen at one point, and then we had the pandemic, and so it didn't happen, and finally, by some miracle, it is. And it's been a glorious thing to get to work with all of these people. You know, Laurie is just, you know, she's fierce and fearless and just one of the great American actresses. And I have to... And also, Chris Abbott and Ben Allers, who play Biff and Happy, are just extraordinary young actors, and it's a thrill every night.
Yeah. Oh, look at
Well,
that.
you know, Arthur Miller wrote Death of a Salesman in 1948, but it seems really timely right now. Feels more relevant, more relevant now than ever. You've got the American dream out of reach for so many American families. And like the Lomans, a lot of families are just struggling to make ends meet. Is that something that also factored into your decision to be a part of this?
Well, look, the play is a classic for a reason, and it's always relevant whenever you see it. You always, depending on where you are in your own life, and it's a play that I think personally, you can't see too much because you always see something new in it, and it always seems to speak to whatever is happening at the time. And certainly, in this play, that is, and in this play in production in particular, because Joe is doing what I'll just call a non-traditional production. It's not in the kind of the skeletal house that we've seen that was originally designed for the show. It's a more abstract and psychological look at it. And it's, but when a husband and wife sit at a table and go over the bills and say, how are we going to make it? How are we going to get by?
Yeah.
I must say, people have said to me, the play feels more modern than ever in this production.
Yeah.
They're hearing things that they haven't heard before.
So, Nathan, your co-stars, Laurie Metcalf, Christopher Abbott, and Ben Allers,
Allers, yes.
Allers, were recently photographed together at a Knicks game. Where were you? Don't
I
you
was
love
at the opera
basketball?
and then the ballet.
With Timothée Chalamet.
This is why we love having Nathan Lane at the table.
Yes, okay. Well, Nathan.
Yes.
Okay, so you and Jesse Tyler Ferguson have been good friends since you guest starred on Modern Family as Pepper Saltzman.
Oh, yes.
Love you. But you recently made headlines for a dinner party that you attended. What happened at the dinner party?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you. You know, Jesse told this story he has a podcast. Like everyone in America, he has a podcast.
Yeah.
And so he brought this story up that he invited me and Pamela Adlon, wonderful, brilliant Pamela Adlon, to dinner. And he told us he has 2 children, adorable kids, he and his husband, Justin. Beckett, one is Beckett, and the other, I don't recall his name. He didn't talk much, so I didn't catch him.
Forgettable child.
So anyway, but Beckett he's talkative. Some doctors might say hyperactive. So he had told them I was in The Lion King and I sang Hakuna Matata as Timon. And so when I arrived, he was calling me Ethan, like some character from Game of Thrones. Ethan, you sang Hakuna Matata. Yes, I did, Beckett. Yes, you said now. And then he showed me all of his toys, and he showed me his room, and they took me,
cute.
and he was very sweet, if a little hyperactive. So finally, we were settling down to have a drink, and Beckett ran in, and he said, Ethan, guess what I have? And I said, hepatitis. And everybody laughed. So he tells this story. And then the next day, all these outlets picked it up, and it said, Nathan Lane makes unhinged remark to 5-year-old. Like I was Timothy Busfield.
No, you didn't.
Yes, he did. Wow, that's not me.
I know.
All right, that's not me. That's you.
That's me?
You have to carry that.
Okay, here we go. Another thing you've done, Nathan.
All right, Beckett made a statement. Everyone is fine.
Well, and the boy's healthy. But you and Whoopi both starred, or were characters, you voiced characters in Disney's Lion King.
Yes.
She played the hyena Shenzi, and you played Timon the meerkat, of course. Did you ad-lib any of that? Because I get Nathan Lane from that character.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yes.
I mean that in the
well,
best way
sure. There was some improv going on.
Yeah.
I don't, and honestly, I don't really remember what we did, but I do remember. This was an ad lib that I said, "What do you want me to do? Dress and drag and do the hula?" and then they wrote a song around it.
Yes.
But Ernie Spella, who plays Pumbaa.
look at that! Yeah!
Anyway, Ernie used to, in the mornings, we would record early in the mornings, and we were doing Guys and Dolls at the time on Broadway, and he, to amuse me, he would make fart noises while he was, doing his lines. He would do, can you do that?
Yeah.
So, and I would
knows that.
laugh, and then they put it in the movie.
Oh.
And they made Pumbaa, the first flatulent character
Yes.
in a Disney film.
Yes.
We all know not to stand downwind.
Exactly.
Nathan, it is always a pleasure and quite a pleasure to have you here for Death of a Salesman.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's
Thank you
fantastic.
very much.
It's in previews right now at the Winter Garden Theater, and it opens April 9th.